Alright, so this video covers a lot of NFL news from ESPN, starting with the Cowboys making a big defensive hire and the Dolphins possibly moving on from Tua. Then it shifts into the coaching carousel, playoff teams, and finally deep analysis of the Patriots, Broncos, Rams, and Seahawks heading into Championship Sunday. Let's break it all down. And if you like this type of NFL reaction, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.
The Cowboys have the answer to their woeful defense, hiring Eagles passing coordinator and secondary coach Christian Parker as their next defensive coordinator. The 34-year-old is charged with turning around a group that gave up a league-worst 30 points per game this season. The Dolphins introducing new GM John Eric Sullivan and new coach Jeff Hafley today, both coming from Green Bay. Sullivan addressing Miami's QB situation. It's new on SportsCenter.
The thing that I think we have to focus most on right now is making sure that we build infrastructure. And yes, we need to get the quarterback situation in place, but we're not going to do it in an irresponsible manner where we sacrifice building the infrastructure of this football team so that when we do find our guy, he can go be successful, whoever that may be, whether it's Tua, Quinn, or somebody that's not in the building. We have a team that he can go play and win with.
All right, joining us now is our NFL reporter, Jeff Darlington. Jeff, we just heard the GM addressing the QB situation. Tua saying this month it would, quote, it would be dope, unquote, to have a fresh start. So what are Miami's options?
Well, dope it will be then, Jay, because the options right now are the Dolphins can pay Tua and have him play or pay Tua and cut Tua. But paying Tua is not really an option at this point. They have to do that. And I do anticipate this team eventually moving on from Tua Tagovailoa as their quarterback. And yes, we did hear from John Eric Sullivan, the new general manager. And no, he wasn't given some type of ultimatum when he got this job. He will certainly evaluate it, as he said. But based on my conversations, I just don't see them keeping Tua at this point. Yes, that comes at a great cost. If it's a post-June 1st designation, we're looking at $67 million cap hit this year, $30 million next year. It's huge, but this team still feels like Tua is part of the previous chapter, which clearly they have tried to reset from. I do not think that Tua Tagovailoa is immune to facing the music of what ownership feels like is a full rebuild here in Miami.
We will keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, Jeff Hafley taking one of the 10 available head coaching jobs this cycle, leaving 6 teams still searching for a new leader. That includes the Bills, Ravens, and Steelers, who all made the playoffs this year. So, Mr. Darlington, what are you hearing about those vacancies, starting with the Bills? Oh, that is cute. Who have Josh Allen in the prime of his career?
That does look like a fun ride, but the carousel, on the other hand, very stressful ride for a lot of these people. We know the Bills are basically getting a late start to this because they fired Sean McDermott late in the cycle, but they do have plenty of interviews lined up with candidates, by the way, who are also in line for several of these other jobs. I do feel like a lot of these shoes are about to drop. We do have a couple interesting ones. Anthony Weaver interviewing with the Pittsburgh Steelers tomorrow, that 2 days after he interviewed in person with the Baltimore Ravens. Weaver, a very
Early on, the Cowboys hiring Christian Parker really stands out to me. Giving up 30 points per game is brutal. So honestly, they needed a fresh voice on defense. It's a risky move because he's young, but sometimes that's exactly what a struggling unit needs. On the Dolphins side, this feels like the beginning of the end for Tua in Miami. When the GM talks about infrastructure and a new chapter, that usually means the quarterback is on the way out. The cap hit is huge, but it sounds like the organization is ready to fully reset, even if it hurts in the short term.
Very fascinating one because now he is very well liked and respected by both the Steelers and the Ravens in the same division. It'll be interesting to see if those two try to get a jump on this to avoid the other one hiring him. That being said, Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator, also a candidate for that Ravens job, also a candidate for the Raiders job. Don't forget about Raiders and Browns. We've got a lot of things that have to happen, but I do think the dominoes are about to start falling.
To defend for, tough to defend against. I think he does a great job with his personnel and his scheme and the guys that he had in New Orleans and how they use those guys, and then certainly how he's using the weapons offensively in Denver. I think you have to prepare for a lot. I think he's had his core concepts that he's had for a lot of years, and then he's just continued to add onto that, as some of the game has changed and some of the ideas and the schemes have evolved. And so I think that's pretty unique. He's a proven winner in this league.
All right, let's bring in the A-team to talk about it. Patriots reporter Mike Reese, senior NFL reporter Jeremy Fowler, and Super Bowl champ Jason McCourty right here. All right, I'm going to start with you, Mike. Broncos coach Sean Payton has been described as a brilliant offensive mind. How are the Patriots preparing to stop his offense from finding success?
Jay, I just returned from the Patriots locker room. Owner Robert Kraft was walking through as players were putting on their game shoulder pads to head out to practice. That was an indication to me that they are ready to get after it in a high-tempo practice. And one of the themes is that this is not any other offense when you're facing Sean Payton as a play caller. He throws a lot at you. Linebacker Robert Spillane saying, expect a lot of different personnel groups, funky formations, a lot of motion. And he said that challenges a defense's rules and scheme, so they need to match their coverages well, and they'll get after it today. I'm going to run out right after this, head out to practice to see how that's unfolded.
Dude, I love your energy. It is the best. Jason, I want to switch gears and focus on the Patriots offense against the Broncos defense. How can Drake May be effective against that unit?
He has to pick up a little bit of where he left off a week ago, and lucky for him, or I guess it would be advantageous if Mike Reese was out there in practice or in the game and he had to throw the ball against him. But one thing that Drake May showed us was his ability to use his eyes to open up windows and lanes for his receivers. I want to show you guys his helmet moving around, and you'll see it. Right here, he's dropping back. He looks out to the outside, and he's looking for Demario Douglas. Look what that does to Jalen Petrie. Those 2 steps to the outside opens up the window on zone coverage for Kayshon Boutte to get in there on a slant route, catch the ball, and get up the field. Accuracy and timing. All right, this is later on in the game in the fourth quarter. He controls the safety. You're seeing right there, Bullock in the middle of the field is moving around. This is why he is. Drake May gets the ball. He looks to his left, and that forces the safety to stay in the middle of the field. Now when he comes back to Kayshon Boutte, it's one-on-one against Derek Stingley Jr., and then the accuracy of the throw. He puts it where only the receiver can catch it. Fantastic catch by Boutte.
When the conversation turns to the coaching vacancies, it really shows how stressful this cycle is. Teams like the Bills, Steelers, and Ravens don't come open often, so when they do, everyone is watching. Anthony Weaver being connected to both the Steelers and Ravens is especially interesting since they're division rivals. That's the kind of move where one team might rush just to block the other. You can really feel that the league is close to a domino effect where once one hire happens, everything else starts falling into place.
Points on the board.
All right, Jeremy, you were at the Broncos practice yesterday. What can you tell us about how the team is rallying behind Jarrett Stidham?
Jay, the Broncos are leaning into Jarrett Stidham's aggressive style of play. Sean Payton said that he's going to let it rip out there, that he's a smart decision maker, but he is not afraid to take chances. As teammate Patrick Surtain put it, Stidham has the kind of mojo, the kind of confidence that you rarely see from young NFL players. So really, Jay, this is a team that's more inspired and galvanized than they are deflated despite the Bo Nix injury. So they are going into this feeling good. And then if Sean Payton needed any more motivation, he's getting it from his mentor, Bill Parcells, who in 1990 made that famous New York Giants Super Bowl run with a backup quarterback in Jeff Hostetler. Broncos trying to do the same.
All right, Jeremy, thank you much. Jason, you just heard how confident the Broncos are in Stidham. Why is he the guy?
They're confident because they see this guy every single day. I was in New England in 2019 when the Patriots drafted Jarrett Stidham to that team. As a rookie, he came out there and he ran the scout team offense every single practice. When you talk about that confidence, he would walk over to the defensive side or he would come up to us in the locker room, my brother, a lot of those DBs, Deron Harmon, Stephon Gilmore, and he'd be talking trash. He'd look at the car and say, don't expect me to throw the ball where they're telling me. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to run the offense, and I'm going to make play after play after play. Jarrett Stidham has been there with Sean Payton the entire time. He knows this offense. The other part of it, Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator for the Patriots, he was there when they drafted him. He took him to the Raiders. He knows Jarrett Stidham very well, too.
Okay, Jarrett Stidham, go ahead on, man. Mike, Jeremy, if history is any indication, the winner of this division grudge match has a great chance of hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. The previous 5 winners of in-division conference championship matchups since 2002 all won the Super Bowl, as you can see. Let's welcome in Rams reporter Lindsey Theory, Seahawks reporter Brady Henderson, and Super Bowl champ Jason McCourty back with us. All right, Lindsey, let's start with you. How are the Rams planning to attack Seattle's defense?
Jay, Matthew Stafford says they're going to have to be fast, physical, aggressive, and they really are going to have to be on their game to execute inside Lumen Field. Stafford really went on talking about the Seahawks defense, saying it's great because they have depth, they have the personnel, they have star power difference makers. That includes their former teammate here with the Rams, Ernest Jones, who's coming off a performance which he forced a fumble and had an interception. Matthew Stafford also is certain to expect this weekend that the Seahawks will have introduced some new wrinkles to attack them with, and he says we absolutely have to be ready to adapt. As for head coach Sean McVay, obviously he is going to be calling that offense, and he says what they need to make sure to do is take care of themselves, take care of their own house before they have any concerns about what the Seahawks might be throwing at them. Jay?
All right, Jason, a plan is a good thing, but then you got to do it. So what's the key for Matthew Stafford to break down the Seattle defense?
They always say everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. In
Absolutely.
Seattle, they're going to come out swinging. Yeah. I think when you look at it, Matthew Stafford talked about them having stars. It's on every single level of their defense. But something Stafford is amazing at is finding a way to place that ball right in between what we would call level 2, right between the safeties, those two deep guys that Seattle always plays with, and the underneath coverage. This was him in Week 16, him Puka Nacua over the middle.
The Patriots and Broncos breakdown is actually really fun football talk. Sean Payton's offense is clearly a nightmare to prepare for with all the motion and different looks on the other side. I like the analysis of Drake Maye. The way he uses his eyes and timing shows real growth, and that's not easy for a young quarterback. It feels like the Patriots are slowly figuring out how to make things easier for him instead of asking him to do too much, too fast.
Of the field, and he does it with accuracy and anticipation. This is just a week ago in Chicago. He's doing it now on the outside of the field. Watch how he places his ball right over Kylan Gordon's fingertips and places it right in there to his tight end. That's Matthew Stafford's superpower, his ability, no matter if they're blitzing, the rush is coming at him, he can sit in that pocket and deliver the ball wherever he needs it to be.
All right, Brady, on the other side of the ball, with Sam Darnold still dealing with the oblique injury, what can you tell us about how the offense is preparing heading into Sunday?
Well, Jay, we are in week 2 of Darnold oblique watch here at Seahawks headquarters. He was a limited participant in practice yesterday. No surprise based on what Mike McDonald told me earlier in the day about how Darnold wouldn't throw this week as much as he normally did. Now, Darnold told me he felt great the day after playing through that injury in the Seahawks win over the 49ers. Now, he only attempted 17 passes in that game before he was pulled with about 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter of their blowout win. That was compared to 39 attempts that he averaged in the first 2 games against the Rams. One more important note on round 3 against Los Angeles, Darnold has been supported for the last month or so by an emerging running game. The Seahawks have topped 160 yards on the ground in each of their last 4 games, but they just lost one half of that rushing attack when Zach Charbonnet suffered a season-ending knee injury on Saturday. So we'll see how much more of the offense now has to go through Darnold and his injured oblique.
We need a big flashing headline, oblique watch, and just talk about it. Last one to you, Jason. How did the Rams contain Seattle's offense?
A lot of what Brady just talked about when he said the running game. The thing that helped Sam Darnold, who looked good a week ago, you saw him running outside the pocket, but something that'll alleviate that, be able to hand the ball off to Kenneth Walker and let him do what he does. No Zach Charbonnet means more carries and more touches for Kenneth Walker. He's averaged 6 yards a carry last week, and the one thing about him as a running back, when he touches the football, you have no idea where he's going to be. Defensive coaches always say that everyone is at the point of attack. The run could be going to the left, and you could be the cornerback on the opposite side of the field. He's going to cut back, and he is going to find you. An explosive guy whenever the ball is in his hand, whether they're handing it off or throwing it to him out the backfield.
I cannot wait for this football game. It should be Championship Sunday, nearly here. 4 teams left vying for a spot in the Super Bowl on February 8th. The Broncos currently 4.5-point underdogs for Sunday's game, which would match the 1976 Raiders for the largest home underdog role in a conference championship since the 1970 merger. Those Raiders won by 17, by the way. The Seahawks and Rams are the favorites to win the Super Bowl at DraftKings Sportsbook. It'll be the first time the 2 Super Bowl favorites entering Championship Sunday have been from the same conference since 2006. Okay, let's bring back sports betting analyst Joe Fortenbaugh. Joe, we got your picks on the spread yesterday in the Dub Club, but you just saw that Pats-Broncos spread has since moved down to 4.5. How much more movement could we see?
Lowest it goes would be 3.5, 3 being a key number, so I don't think we get there. Highest would be back to 5.5 because 6 is a key number, so I don't see it getting there. The reason for the move, this was Denver minus 1.5 when Nix was healthy. Once he got injured, it swung all the way to 5.5. You do some quick math there, 1.5 plus 5.5, that's 7. That's a 7-point move. The drop from Bo Nix to Jarrett Stidham isn't 7 points. That's why you're seeing Broncos money early in the week here.
Okay, I want to dig into some player props. What is the one play that you like in this Pats-Broncos game?
Patriots running back Ramondre Stevenson under 49.5 rushing yards. Let's go through the basics. 45 rushing yards per game this season, under this mark in 9 of 16 games. So let's ask ourselves, why would he perform above average in this matchup against a Denver defense that ranks number 4 in defensive rush success rate? Answer, I don't see it happening. Keep in mind, Travion Henderson is going to get his share of the workload as well. So far this postseason in 2 games, he's getting about 40% of the offensive snaps. That means we need Stevenson to get to 50 yards against a good run defense with 60% of the snaps. I don't see it happening.
Okay, moving over to the NFC. What plays do you like there?
This is going to be a fun one. Sam Darnold, but not throwing, rushing. Under 5.5 yards. All right, so this is going to be a hell of a sweat. 0 carries last week against San Francisco. Remember, he's got that oblique injury. So now we go through the rest of the data. Even when healthy, he's only gone over this mark in 9 of 18 games, so it's basically a coin flip. LA, 7th fewest rushing yards allowed to opposing quarterbacks this season. I like Seattle to win this game, which means Darnold could be kneeling the ball out late, which means negative rushing yards if he does have a scramble. Player I do like, A.J. Barner, tight end, over 3.5 receptions, good plus money at plus 131 being the price. 0 targets against San Francisco last week. Wasn't even part of the offensive passing game plan. Game was a blowout, so we get a really good buy low price for a guy who exploded in 2 games against the Rams this year. In those 2 games, 17 targets, 14 receptions, 119 yards, and a touchdown. Darnold facing pressure, likes to get the ball out of his hands. To a security blanket, that would be A.J. Barner.
That is Joe Fortenbaugh. Listen to what the man says. Thank you, brother.
Tell my wife that, please.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I wouldn't do that either.
Overall, this ESPN segment does a great job showing how everything in the NFL is connected right now. Coaching hires, quarterback decisions, injuries, and even betting lines all tie back to one thing: stability. Teams like the Cowboys and Dolphins are clearly trying to fix deeper problems, while playoff teams are focused on execution and health at the most important time of the season. As we head into Championship Sunday, it really feels like experience and preparation are going to matter more than ever. Whether it's a young quarterback trying to prove himself or a veteran like Stafford doing what he's always done, the margins are razor thin. That's what makes these games so exciting and why every single decision being discussed here actually matters.